Hi everyone, I hope you had a good spring break. I'm going to do a video for each of the lessons. We're starting with week 8. This is the week that starts Monday, March 23rd, and then March 24th, 25th, and March 26th. So I'll be doing a video for lessons 97, 98, and 99. And I'll also be doing a video for lesson 100 and investigation 10. I'm going to do a video, for each individual lesson. So this video will be for lesson 97. Before or after you watch the video, and you'll do your time test, because since we're not in class, I won't be able to do that with you. So I'll need you to do your 5 minutes for your time test, just like we would do in class, and grade them the number correct over the number complete, just like in class, okay? And then you can, if you finish it before your 5 minutes, put in your time, and if you would have your parents grade them, then I'll teach the lesson and you can do your practice problems, okay? So I'm gonna get started on lesson 97. Lesson 97 is on page 449 in your textbook, okay? That is lesson 97. Let me move my sheet where you can see that really well, okay? So, lesson 97 deals with mean, median, range, and mode. We have mean is something we have worked with before. It's just another name for it. When we worked with it before spring break, we called it an average. So mean is another word for average. Okay? When we did our average, we would take 3 numbers. Well, we would take however many numbers, and we would add them up. So 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 5 is 12. And then we would take the sum of those add-ins, 12, and divide it by the number of add-ins, which we have 1, 2, 3 add-ins. Okay, and when we divide 12 by 3, we get 4. So the average for the numbers 3, 4, and 5 is 4. Or the mean for those numbers is 4. So we have done average work before. Now the book is just calling it a mean. Nothing new there, okay? So the next one that we'll move on to that actually is newer for us is the median. So I'm going to write down a list of numbers, and we will find the mean, median, range, and mode for this list of numbers. I have 8, 7, 7, 8, 6, 10, 9, 10, and 7. Okay, that is my list of numbers I'm starting with. The first thing I'm going to do is find their average or their mean. I'm going to use those words. They mean the same exact thing. So I'm going to try to call it an average or a mean, but if I mess up, they mean the same thing, okay? So let's add those together. So when we add, and I always put mine in a vertical column because it's easier to add that way for me, and I would recommend that for you also. And I add them up, okay? So when I go through and add them up, I end up with 72, okay? So that is my sum, right? When I add, and now I have to figure out how many numbers did I add together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 add-ins. Remember, an add-in plus an add-in gives us a sum, okay? So I'm just using the terminology that we've been using all year long. So I have 9 add-ins. So to find the average, I'm going to take my sum of 72 and divide it by my number of add-ins, which we determined to be 9, and 72 divided by 9 is 8. So the mean, or average, is 8 for this list of numbers, okay? There's one of my answers. I'm looking for the mean. Now my next thing is called a median. A median, when I hear the word median, I need to think of the word middle. The way I remember that is when I'm driving down the road, and especially if you're in the city, and you want to take a left into a business, but you can't because there's that concrete barrier with like maybe trees or flowers or something in the middle of the road, so I can't take a left right there. That concrete barrier in the middle of the road that stops me from going left is called a median. It is located in the middle of the road. So when I hear the word median, I need to think middle. So when I'm thinking about the middle of the road, or the middle of when I'm thinking about the median, I think about the concrete barrier in the middle of the road. When I use that to apply to my list of numbers, I'm looking for the middle number. Now, in order to get the middle number, the very most important thing you have to do first, your first step, is you have to take these numbers and put them in order from least to greatest. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look through our list of numbers. I'm back up here. This is the list I'm going to use for all of these. So I need my smallest number, which is a 6. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to rewrite my list of numbers from smallest to greatest. So I have a 6, so I'm going to mark out my 6. Now I'm going to go through. My next is my 7, okay? And I'm going to mark that one out, but I have another 7, so I'm going to write that one down and mark that one out. But then I have another 7, so I'm going to write that one down and mark that one out, okay? So I've taken care of all my 7s. Now I'm going to go to my 8, which is next, and I'm going to mark that one out, but I still have another 8, so I need to write it down and mark that one out. My next smallest number is my 9. Write it down, mark it out, come down, and then I have 2 10s to write down, 10 and 10, and mark them out. That way I make sure that I have used all my numbers in my original list. Now I can work with the median. When I hear the word median, I think middle, so therefore I'm looking for the middle of my numbers. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So I can cover up the outer ones, and I can work my way in 2 numbers at a time by covering them up until I get to my middle number. When I do that, hopefully y'all can see, yeah, I think you can see. My middle number is this 8 here, okay? So my median is 8 for this list of numbers. Okay, now I'm going to move on to my next piece called the range. A range for my numbers. A range, we take the largest number in my list and we subtract the smallest number. And that gives us our range. Okay? So what I'm trying to figure out is on a number line, if I have a number line and my largest number is over here, which my largest number in my list is a 10, and my smallest number in my list is a 6, so I'm going to come over here and put my 6. What a range is trying to do is look on the number line and determine the distance between the largest number and the smallest number. For us, that's simply subtraction. So I'll take 10, my largest number, and subtract 6, my smallest number, and find out that my range is 4. The range between my largest and smallest number. Okay, so that's range. My mode. When I hear the word mode, I think the word most. mode, and most. They kind of start out the same, mode and most. They both start with the M-O sound, mode, most. My mode is the number that occurs the most in my list. That's why I want you to think of the word most, mode and most. So when I go back to my list up here, I look and I have a 6, I have 7, 7, 7, 2 8s, 1 9, and 2 10s. So I have a lot of repeating numbers, but this one wants the one that repeats the most, which in this instance would be 7, because there are 3 7s in my list. Now, in my list, if it had been this list, all I did is I added in another 8, okay, in this example. So 7 would occur 3 times and 8 would occur 3 times. So in this list, my mode, I would have 2. It would be both 7 and 8. Not all lists will have a mode. Some lists don't have numbers that occur more than once. For example, this list right here. If I asked you what the mode was for this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, there are no numbers that repeat. So the mode on this one is none. There isn't one. Okay. So I'm going to flip over my page and we're going to talk a little bit more. Let me make sure I'm centered in there. All right. So if I have a list, let me write another list of numbers. Okay, so this list of numbers, now if let's make sure, okay, got it. This list of numbers, if I need to find, if I give you this list of numbers, and if we look at this list, we have 80, 85, 85, 10, 90, 90, and 85. We kind of have a good range. Most of these numbers are really close together. In fact, if I was going to draw them on a number line, okay, I would do that, and let's see, if over here would be about 10, and then let's say that's 80, and then we would have 85, 90, 95, and here I would have 5, 10, and I would have 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, all the way. I'm not going to fill in all those numbers because I just want it to be really clear to read. But if I was going to put a dot for each of my numbers, I would have an 80 dot here, an 85, another 85. I'm just going through and putting a dot on each of these numbers on my number line. That's all I'm doing right now. My next one is 10, so I'm going to put a dot over here. Then my next one is 90, so I'll put a dot here on my 90. My next here is 90, so I'm going to put another dot there. 85, I'd put another dot here. Now, if I look at my dots, most of them are right here together, all clumped up. Okay? But way over here, I have this one random dot for number 10. So that number 10 is called an outlier. What that means is the majority of my numbers are very close together. In fact, if I took 90 minus 80, they're within 10 numbers of each other. The majority of my numbers are. But then I have one number 10 that's an outlier. It's not close to the rest of my numbers. So an outlier it'll affect the average or the mean, which remember an average and a mean are the same thing. An outlier will affect your average or mean, but it will not affect your median. So if I needed to find the median of this set of numbers. Remember, the first thing I do when I find a median is put them in order from least to greatest. Median, I think the word middle. So I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest. My least number is 10. I'm going to cross it out. My next number is 80. I'm going to cross it out. My next number is 85, and I have that 3 times. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm going to cross that one out. Now my next number, I have 2 number 90s in my original list, so I'm going to cross those out. So I'm looking for my median, which when I hear median, I think the word middle. So as I'm looking for my middle number, you can do it with your fingers, like I showed you earlier, or you could cross them out. You could say, these guys go out together, they're a pair, here and here, kind of covers them up. And then I have these 3 in the middle, and I'd cover up that one and that one, which would leave my median to be 85. Okay. All right, so if you have a list of numbers, such as this list, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. If I need to find the median, which when I hear the word median, I think middle, okay? The first thing I do when I have to find the middle is I put my numbers in order from least to greatest. My least number in this list is 75. So I start with 75 and I cross it out. My next number, oh, this one's already in order for me. Sorry, I don't have to do that. I just caught on that I had written it in order. Okay, so let me just erase that. See, even the teacher makes mistakes. So we're all in it together. Okay, so my list is already in order on this one. Yay, that helps. That's one step you don't have to do. So in that though, if I go through and I cover up, like I'd talked about, I cover here, and then I cover here, well, I don't really have a number that lands in the middle, right? If I were to do the cross out method and cross the outsides and then cross the next ones in, I still don't have a number that lands in the middle. No matter what I do, I have 2 numbers that land in the middle. When I have 2 numbers that land in the middle, I have to find the average of those 2 numbers, and that is my median. So in order to do that, I would take 80 plus 90, because those are my 2 middle numbers. I'm looking for the median, and add them together. And 8 plus 9 is 17. Okay, so there's my sum. Now I'm going to take my sum, because I'm making an average or a mean, they mean the same thing, and divide it by my number of add-ins, which is 1, 2, there. Okay, remember in division, our first step is to divide, our second step is to multiply, our third step is to subtract, our fourth step is to bring down, and then we go back to the top. Okay, let me move my paper over a little. Okay, so I take and I start out with 17 divided by 2, the closest I can get without going over, which will be times 8. 8 times 2, I'm on step 2, is 16. Step 3 is to subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1, and nothing there. And then step 4 is to bring down. Now I'm at step 4. I have to go back up into divide. So I have a new division problem. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Step 2 is multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. Step 3 is to subtract, and I end up with 0. Step 4 is bring down, but I have nothing to bring down, and so I have no remainder, so my answer is 85. Now, so in this case, my median, or my middle, of this list of numbers is 85. Now, you only have to find the average or mean on the median when there is not a clear middle. There are 2 numbers here that were in the middle, so you have to average them to find the true middle, which in this case is 85. Okay, so the practice problems. So now you can do your practice problems, and you'll have to have your parents check them. And they are located on page 450 for lesson 97. And I'll be doing another video for lesson 98.